Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Grant, what does this increase mean to the workers out there? Is it significant?
Well, it's currently there's two areas affected. The one is sitting at, if you look at the calculation, a roughly about 6.5% increase, the other 7.5% increase. So it's pretty subjective depending on which side of the coin you're sitting on, the giver as the employer or the receiver as the employee.
How will the workers benefit from this?
Well, inevitably, with the sectoral determination, there's a guaranteed increase on the minimum wage, which sort of allows that the worker does get a guaranteed increase for the year going forward. It would be interesting to see with legislation going forward where the minister will be allowed, in terms of the current labour law amendment process, to see how she would potentially increase on actual wages and the impact of that as well.
Now, some sectors were saying that these increases are just a drop in the ocean. Do you think that this is enough for the domestic workers, or do you think that the department must really up its stakes again?
Well, again, I think a sort of a balance has to be struck between increasing the living standards of employees, but by the same token, taking into account the employer side of things, making certain that the employment is sustainable going forward, and to make certain that there's a balance struck. And it's an unenviable task that the minister has of making certain that both sides are catered for with the minimum wage.
Now, how sustainable is this particular increase, taking into account and consideration that workers previously lost their jobs in the past due to some of these increases?
Well, this is the one sector where the increases don't jump at one as being necessarily dramatically unreasonable. There's been, I've scoured the internet and there's been different reactions from different stakeholders with regards to it being too little, with regards to being too much. And I think inevitably with any wage increase, you'll get that. But what the minister needs to make certain of is to find a balance where, again, as I said, that balance between employees' benefits being looked after as well as the employers being able to maintain employing people. Like I said earlier, the potential labour law amendment where the minister's given the authority to provide increases on actuals is a concern going forward for future increases, because let's say you are an employer that pays above the minimum wage. If you were to be given just told, look, next year's a 10% increase, even though you are paying above the minimum, the concern just going forward is that it might sort of drive guys to employ people at the minimum wage rather than employ above the minimum wage. So it's an unenviable task that the minister faces, but as I said, it's the one sector where the percentages don't jump at one as being unnecessarily unreasonable.
Our current laws, do they really protect the domestic worker out there, do you think?
Look, our laws as they currently stand are pretty balanced. We have a very sort of rigid employment system. The domestic sector obviously has its own rules with regards to the sectoral determination around it, and there can be arguments either way. I just think one has to, again, find that balance legislatively where workers' rights are protected, and as well as making employment creation, a business environment sustainable for employment creation as well. Not at the not at the abuse of workers. I think the workers' rights are essential as well in maintaining the standard and balance going forward.
So you would agree that Christmas is coming a little bit earlier for domestic workers?
I wouldn't say Christmas coming earlier. I think the increase was expected, and it is the annual thing. Next year you'll see increases again, probably at a similar level. But again, an increase is there, and it's guaranteed in terms of the sectoral determination. So yeah.
Grant Wilkinson, thank you so much for your time. He is a labour attorney
from
Global Business Solutions.